Okay, so when a person gives, a person transforms the entire process to the sweetness of giving, and then you get back. And that's the thing. You never lose. One never loses by giving tzedakah. Somewhere along the line, that will come back. That does come back. And it's a guarantee. The Torah says that when it talks about tzedakah in its more dominant way in 5 weeks from now, in the portion right in the middle of the book of the Devar, in the 5th book of the Torah, and it says very clearly, you give and I give. And that's what happens. What he's saying over here is, Kabbalistically, the entire process of the divine energy that comes to the person is now coming from a kindness, a giving. The giving, it's been transformed to the giving manner. And the entire thing is giving. All right. Now, the last part of this footnote on page 52, the quality of supernal kindness that one elicits into Malchut is determined by the size of the charitable contribution. So here he's saying the more you give, the more it inspires the transformation. Now, that would mean, I'm going to translate this, because this is just a footnote, so whoever wrote this, I can add to that. I think what it means here is, what if you don't have $10,000 to give? It means that when a person normally gives $1 a day or a quarter a day, and then on Erev Yom Kippur is inspired to give $100, which is a very big amount for that person, well, then that changes the game here. It changes the way things come from God. And in other words, a person's going out of their way, out of the box, out of the comfort zone. All right, page 52. This then explains the Zohar statement that only through tzedakah, which is charity, can tzedek, or justice, or righteousness, can tzedek be complete. The term complete, what does it mean to be complete? It refers to the completeness of Malki Tzedek, the king of Shalem. We learned this last week. There was a man whose name was Malki Tzedek. Mm-hmm. Malki Tzedek appears one time in the Torah, in the Torah's third portion, where it details the war that Abraham led against the 4 kings who had defeated the 5 kings. One of the 5 kings was the king of Sodom, like the Sodom, and he was the king in the city where Lot was living, Lot, the nephew of Abraham, and the 4 kings came and defeated the 5 kings, which included Sodom, and they took everybody to kidnap. They kidnapped all the people. And Abraham went to release his nephew, and in the meantime, released everybody over there. When he came back from war, the Torah says, Malki Tzedek, the king of Shalem, came to greet him with bread and wine, and gave him a blessing and all that. Who is Malki Tzedek? So the sages teach that this was Shem, the son of Noah, Sem. That's where anti-Semitism, that's where the word Semitism comes from, Shem, Semitic. And he was the king of Shalem, eventually to be known as Yerushalayim, or Yerushalayim. And his name is Malki Tzedek. Malki means king, royalty, and Tzedek means justice, justification. So everything in the Torah has some kind of meaning and purpose, even just a name. Every name means something. Every single name, especially in the Torah, means something, or represents something, or has a numerical equivalent of something. Every single letter in the Torah is a letter that's there from God, so there's a message to everything. So Kabbalah looks at the two-sided name here. Malki means Malchus, it's royalty. Tzedek means justice, is giving. So you got the beginning and the end. It's like the kindness and the royalty. Royalty is the Malchus, the last level. Kindness is the top level. So previously, in the last week, we learned that this is a combination of a kindness and a discipline which makes it complete. So he was the king of Shalem. Shalem means complete. Like Shalom means peace, Shalem means complete. Yerushalayim means the complete Yeru. Yeru is Yira. The awe of God is complete when you're in Jerusalem, because that's where God is, and that's where the temple is, and so on. Yeah. So he was the king of Shalem, the complete king. Why was he complete? Because he had the perfect combination between giving and discipline, and the outcome of which was a completeness. So, let's go. Let's look again now. This then explains the Zohar statement that only through tzedakah can tzedek be complete. The term complete refers to the completeness of Malki Tzedek, the king of Shalem, king of completeness, i.e. the fusion of chesed and gevurah, or giving and discipline. That's the fusion, and then it becomes complete. And this can only be achieved through tzedakah. As the verse states, with tzedakah you shall be established. That means that now you are complete because you are full. You're ready to be established. This is the verse in Isaiah. This is the reference to Isaiah 54 you had before. Although these chasadim, these kindnesses, contain myriad levels, they are generally divided into two categories: outer chesed, outer kindness, and inner chesed, inner kindness, also known as rav chesed, abundant kindness. So more specifically, what does that mean, the inner and the outer? There is a chesed associated with the emotional faculties. That means that a person feels inspired in the heart to give. That means you come across something and you see something and you say, I'm impressed. I want to give. I feel like this is something that I want. I like it. I appreciate it. I enjoy it. It's all about the feeling, the good feeling that giving is a good cause. You know it's a good cause. You feel it's a good cause. You benefit from the good cause. You're going to give it. Now, then there is a chesed associated with the intellectual faculties. Intellectual faculties means I know that I need to support this institution because they seem like they're doing good things. It's not really a feeling that you have. You might not give again, but right now your intellect says this is a good thing to do. I might not have been moved by that guy on the street corner on a regular day, but on a hot day, I said to myself, "All right, if he has the ability to sit there and endure through this very difficult day to stay at 95, 96 degrees out there. It's hot. Even if you like the heat, this is bad heat. This is too hot and it's too humid, and the cars are coming by, so there's more heat coming from them. I mean, on the asphalt, this is tough. So my intellect said, okay, this time you're going to give this guy. Usually, I wouldn't be moved. I wouldn't pay attention to these kind of people because I'm not sure, what I'm supporting over here. But I figured that this guy is desperate for whatever it is, and all right, that's more of an intellectual kind of giving. And then, as well as that associated with the level that transcends chokhmah, transcends wisdom, that of he perseveres. That's a perseverance. That's that netzach or notzeh, kindness for 2,000 generations. In the 13 attributes of mercy, it says, it's in the 10 Commandments. It says that he preserves kindness for 2,000 generations. The world hasn't even been that long. 2,000 generations. If each generation is 20, just give a number of 25 years. So 100 times 25 is 250. 1,000 times 25 is 2,500. 2,000 is 5,000 years. The whole world is only just over 557. There's hardly. So he's thinking about 2,000 generations, not 2,000 years. 2,000 generations. We're talking here still in the times of Adam. 5,000 years ago, Adam was still alive. The first man. So that's a long time to be preserving the kindness. That's a kindness that transcends any kind of wisdom and intellect and emotions and so on.
This is part of the high holiday service too, isn't it?
The 13 attributes of mercy.
Well, I was just recognizing. I don't
No, it's a
always remember
chesed.
that. Yeah, yes, I see that in Hebrew. So.
The 13 attributes of mercy are said on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, especially in Yom Kippur, abundantly. But the truth is, they are said every single day in davening, twice a day, if there is supplication. That means there's special prayers to confessional. We do this every day. Also, they are said on a holiday, on a festival, on a Yom Tov, when you open up the ark, if it's not a Shabbos. Shabbos, you don't confess and do these things for sins. We don't have to worry about it this year because Rosh Hashanah is on a Monday and a Tuesday, and Yom Kippur is on a Wednesday, Tuesday night, Wednesday.
Is that when you go like this?
Yeah. Well, after this is the confessional, but at sometimes you and that's going to be repeated quite a few times, especially on Yom Kippur, especially as the day moves on, and so. That is the 13 attributes of mercy. 13 attributes of mercy come from a place that is above anything. You want God to forgive, and to forgive sometimes quite some wanton, willful transgressions that could be pretty bad, and that which we do over and over and over again as well. We keep going back to them. So we don't seem to be as serious. Can you imagine if you did something to someone? And you begged forgiveness, and the person said, okay, and then you did it again. That'd be a little bit more difficult. If you did it 15 times, you'd be in a lot of trouble. When we ask God for forgiveness, when we ask God for forgiveness in the Amidah, in the weekday Amidah, we say, Chanun Hamarbe Lisloach, the gracious one who gives much forgiveness. It's not just forgiveness, but he continues to forgive, because hey, he's got to face it. We are sometimes get caught up in our own bad habits. We'll leave it at that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this does appear in the 13 attributes of mercy as well. As explained above, regarding the digits that were single, double, and tens of thousands, each of these levels corresponds to loftier levels respectively. We learned this way back, that when the Torah talks about this life of Sarah and how long she lived, the Torah doesn't say she lived for 127 years, which was how old she was when she died, but the Torah says she lived for 100 years and 20 years and 7 years. Each one of them in a separate unit, because a 7 represents the attributes, and the 20 represents the intellect, and the 100 represents above intellect, and then you have 1,000, and then you have 10,000. Those are the 5 levels that he enumerated, and in Hebrew there is no word for a number above 10,000. You just say lots of tens of thousands. The million in the modern day Hebrew is from the word million, just like autobus is from the word autobus. And just like the word computer comes from the word computer,
Right.
And so on.
I love it.
So there's no Hebrew, holy tongue word for more than 10,000. Why? Because there are 5 levels. There is the attributes, then there is the intellect, then there is what is above intellect, then there is the desire, and then there's the pleasure. There's five specified levels. Okay, and while acts of kindness generally elicit a flow of chesed from on high, why? When the person does tzedakah, kindness, it brings down a kindness from God. It is the magnitude of the act which determines the level of chesed elicited. It is how big it is. And again, I say this not necessarily how much you've given, but how big it is. How on each person has a different level of what bigness can be. So the magnitude of it changes the game is as to what flow comes from God. As explained elsewhere, regarding the verse the kindness of God does not cease. That verse happens to be in the book of Lamentations, the book of Eicha, which we recite on Tisha B'Av, the saddest day of the year. That it'll be Saturday night, 2 weeks from last night. And right after Shabbos, we sit down, we light the candle, we turn off the lights so it shouldn't be bright. It should be like mourners, and we sit on the floor. It begins a fast, and we are lamenting the destruction of everything. And in the third chapter, almost every chapter there has 22 verses. 22 verses because it has a letter for each of the letters of the Hebrew alphabet. The third chapter has 3 verses per letter. So it's not 22, but it's 66 verses. All of them are like one-liners, or very short. And by the way, this was written by Jeremiah, as I mentioned yesterday in Shul, before the destruction. He didn't write this as a lamentation of what happened. He wrote it as a lamentation of what's going to happen. Once it happened, then you have Isaiah. Then you have, okay, you know what? It happened. This is what's going to happen from now on, and all the comfort and all that stuff. But until that point, he was writing this before, and one of the things he wrote was Chaste Hashem ki lo samna, which is the kindness of God that does not cease. So he was saying that it's what comes from God is kindness. And another verse over there in that same chapter, he says, there is no bad that comes from God. This is the chapter that's lamenting. This is our class on Tuesday. That the infinite kindness of God, which is the inner chesed, the higher level of chesed, deeper level of chesed, of kindness, which is without limit or measure, is awakened and elicited when one donates to charity, disregarding the halachically prescribed limits of a fifth or a tenth. A person goes out of their way, a person goes out of their box and does something that they don't usually do. That opens up a different channel, a whole flow of kindness that the person didn't have before. But the person chooses to go beyond the requirement of the law, see there at length. So the bottom line is that kindness always brings kindness. It opens up kindness, but there are different kindnesses. There is the external level, the normal level of kindness. So when a person does a normal giving, then the normal giving brings a normal kind manifestation of godliness. But when a person does an abnormal kindness, goes beyond, then there is a deeper, a higher, a different, newer channel of kindness. In 1946, the Rebbe, who had not yet, his father-in-law, his predecessor was still the Rebbe then, he was in the United States, and they were trying to publish books. And in those days, a book to be published was, a book to be published is a lot of money. And if you're not printing one book, you're printing hundreds of books. And they were just getting established with the Kihat, the Chabad publishing house, and they didn't have that much. And in order to publish things, you had to typeset, and this is real typesetting with lead and all that stuff. And each page was typeset. It was completely different the way it's done today. And they wanted to publish a 10-volume set of a compendium of law. With indexes and whatever. It was like an encyclopedia written by not even a Chabad person, but they felt it would be very important. The Rebbe wanted it. Anyway, so he contacted a businessman who lived in Chicago, who was a Chabad businessman. His name was Yankel Katz. He passed away only in the 90s, so it was a very ripe old age. So I got to see him, to be around him. In 1946, he was still a young man, a young businessman who was trying his hand. He had met with some success, but and the Rebbe said to him, "I needed to donate $3,000." In 1946, $3,000 would be like what, $30,000 today, $50,000. You needed a real job for that kind of money. And he said, "3,000." To himself, he said. And the Rebbe said, my father-in-law, the Rebbe, really wants this published, and this is very, very important. And I need somebody to go out of their way. So what this man did was he went and he took out loans, and whatever it was, he came up with the money very quickly. And the Rebbe blessed him, and very shortly he made back like so much more. He became a wealthy man as a result of this. And I heard this story related by the Rebbe on more than one occasion. He didn't say, he never said names. He just said there was this Jew who did this. And the Rebbe said that he didn't know where the money was going to come. He didn't have that money. But once he made the choice that he's going to find the money, and he actually went and got that money, a whole different channel opened up to him, and it came pouring down to him. There are similar stories like that of people who, by giving, but really digging down to give charity for something that they felt it would be important, somehow it doesn't need to be irresponsible. It means to rely on the fact that go give it, and you'll see that things will happen, and it does come back. It doesn't go for nothing. It doesn't go away. It comes back. It might not come back right away. This is not a promise. This is not a prophecy, and it might not come back in the form of cash. It might come back in all the kinds of different ways. But it never goes to waste. It never goes out. Usually, it does come back in the form of pure kindness back, pure cash back. That's one thing about tzedakah. You get it back here. The Mishnah says, as part of the daily prayers, we cite this Mishnah, that most of the investments that a person does with the commandments, the benefits of which we don't see. You don't see the benefits of putting on tefillin. You think about it and you contemplate on it, the benefits of keeping Shabbos. You can say, yeah, it's restful, it's nice, it's enjoyable, but you don't see the real thing. Same thing with keeping kosher. And all of those commandments, you not necessarily will see it. One day we will, but it's all piling up for us. But our sages promise us when it comes to tzedakah, it comes back here. It comes back to the person, not usually in the form of back at you. And we may not connect the two, we may not realize, but somehow windfalls will happen as a result of it, because it's a new channel that's opened up. The new channel opens up, lots of good things can happen. May they all happen to us.
Oh, man.
Amen.